lore. Hello everyone, Nick the DM here with some Forgotten Realms lore. Today we're looking at one of the mightiest weapons of the giants, the Vonindod. Unlike most things I've covered on my channel, the Vonindod only has lore in 5th edition, and not much at that. Until the very recent release of Dungeons & Dragons Dark Alliance, the only lore we had came in the module Storm King's Thunder. With the release of Dark Alliance, we've been given some more lore. Not a lot, but still more than we had, so here is what we know. The Vonindod, meaning Titan of Death in Giant, is an 80-foot tall, colossal construct made of adamantine, used in the 1,000-year war between the giants and the dragons. The Vonindod has two massive ruby eyes, each weighing 250 pounds and worth 25,000 gold pieces. When active, the Vonindod wields an enormous adamantine greatsword. Looking at the size of the sword on the Iron Slag map in Storm King's Thunder, the weapon is approximately 75 feet long. Giant legends claim that the horns on its helm could be used to pierce through a dragon's body, and its greatsword could cleave the tops off of mountains. Of course, the Vonindod isn't exactly mountain-sized, but because of the nature of adamantine weapons and the sheer size of that weapon, it seems like it could easily destroy structures and hilltops fairly easily, so there might be some truth to that legend. The Vonindod traveled very slowly and was often at disadvantage due to being earthbound. Even so, the Vonindod was quite skilled at raiding dragon lairs. It had even killed more dragons than Hjörnir Wormreaver, the frost giant hero who had killed hundreds of dragons single-handedly, which may be the reason some giants call this construct the Dragon Slayer. Despite its power and strength, the Vonindod was not invincible. The Colossus sustained substantial damage during its countless battles over the course of the war, resulting in many pieces being lost or broken off throughout the realms. After the war had ended, what remained of the Vonindod had been dismantled, and it stayed this way for tens of thousands of years, until the events of Storm King's Thunder. During the shattering of the Ordning, the fire giant Duke Zolto, intent on proving himself the king of all giants, began rebuilding the Vonindod piece by piece to have it destroy the rest of dragonkind and bring the giants into power once more. Zolto and his clan searched for these pieces with items called Rods of the Vonindod, and they inhabited the ancient fire giant forge of Iron Slag to begin rebuilding. Unfortunately, the forges of Iron Slag were not hot enough to reforge the broken pieces of the Vonindod. This resulted in Duke Zolto trying to steal the primordial Megara to heat the forges, but that's a different story for another time. Now, that's it for the lore of the Vonindod. Sadly, the Vonindod has never had any official stats, and that's probably because it is easily an epic level monster/creature, stronger than that of the Tarrasque, and 5e hasn't done much epic level stuff, though I expect some might be coming at some point. Also, the Vonindod never existed in earlier editions, but there are similar creatures in the 3.5 epic level handbook that I decided I should mention and give you all a rough estimate of how strong the Vonindod really is. The two creatures we'll be looking at are the Iron Colossus and the Adamantine Golem. Sadly, there's no Adamantine Colossus. That would just be too easy for our purposes. So, Iron Colossus, Adamantine Golem. Comparing them to the Iron Golem from 3.5, challenge ratings are fairly consistent between 3.5 and 5th edition. Normally, the Iron Golem, for instance, is a CR 13 in 3.5 and a CR 16 in 5e. A little different, but close enough for our purposes. First, what CR might the Vonindod be? There are two different ways to estimate this. First, the difference between the Golem and the Colossus. The Iron Golem is CR 13, as I've already said, but the Iron Colossus is CR 33, 20 CR levels higher than its Golem counterpart. we can apply the difference to the adamantine golem, which has a challenge rating of 25, and estimate that an adamantine colossus like the Vonindod would be CR 45. That sounds extreme to most of you who've only played 5th edition, but this was actually not uncommon amongst epic gameplay back in the earlier editions and beyond level 20. But for 5th edition, that is staggering. Now let's double check our work by using the second method, comparing the golems. The iron golem has a challenge rating of 13, and the adamantine golem has a challenge rating of 25. That is a 12 challenge rating difference. Now let's apply this to the colossi. The iron colossus with a CR of 33, raising it by 12, will get it, well, look at that, to 45. So clearly an adamantine colossus like the Vonindod should have a theoretical CR of 45. No wonder it's killed hundreds of dragons single-handedly. A Great Worm Red Dragon in 3.5 had a CR of 26. And of course, challenge rating is not a linear scale. A challenge rating 1 monster or a challenge rating 2 monster isn't equivalent to 2 challenge rating 1 monsters. As the scale goes up and up higher, it's like an exponential increase rather than linear. It's like a sloping chart. Now, of course, there are creatures stronger in earlier editions and that could take out the Vonindod, but for our purposes, it's clearly one of the strongest things we've covered on this channel so far. This would take a whole fleet of ancient or older dragons to fight, and dragons aren't known for their cooperation, which is probably why the war lasted so long. Now, clearly these are epic level creatures, as should be apparent by the use of the epic level handbook and how high the CR is. I will at some point in the future be making a small series on epic level adventures, characters, and monsters, so if you're looking forward to that, comment and let me know, and subscribe so you don't miss it. Now, we've looked at CR, so let's look at some of the special traits of the Iron Colossus and Adamantine Golem to see what the Vonindod may or may not have. Ability scores, armor class, and plus to hit bonuses do not translate well over editions, especially 3rd or 3.5 to 5th, so we will skip those. I will mention, however, that the Iron Colossus has a plus 99 to hit with its slam attack. And even despite the fact that it's 3.5, and even by epic level standards, a plus 99 to hit is astronomically high and utterly ridiculous, as many online forums have talked about. So we can reason that if the Vonindod was brought to 5th edition, or even an Iron Colossus, it would have a much lower to hit bonus, or any slam attack would be a dexterity saving throw, considering it's pretty much automatically hitting a certain area based on the plus. But regardless of that, let's get on to the abilities. The Adamantine Golem, to start, has a few unique traits. First, it moves incredibly slowly, having 20-foot movement speed, and it cannot dash. So it'd be fairly easy to run from, which is really one of the only options with the Vonindod. It also has a trample where any creature or object one size category smaller than it that is in its path will get crushed under it if it doesn't move. Now remember, this is just the golem standing at 25 feet tall, which is astronomically tall for a golem, but regardless, this is the smaller version. It is also, imagine just the Vonindod being 80 feet tall compared to this 25. It is also listed as having magic immunity, but so did the Iron Golem from 3.5, and in 5th edition that translated to magic resistance, magic weapons, and immutable form. Apart from that, another feature that isn't listed, the Golem is made of adamantine, or the Vonindod, depending on which one you're referring to. Reasonably, you can apply adamantine weapons and armor traits from 5th edition to the Adamantine Golem, meaning any critical hit against it becomes a normal hit, and any attack the Adamantine Golem makes against an object that hits automatically becomes a critical hit. Next is the Iron Colossus. It moves fast because of its large size, but still is unable to dash. It has 50 feet of movement speed, though I'd make the adamantine version slower just because of how slow the adamantine golem is, and transferring that to a bigger creature, it might have bigger strides, but it might move even slower. And it is mentioned that the Vonindod moves incredibly slowly, or did move when it was active. Now it's currently just hanging up in Iron Slag. The Colossus has magic immunity in 3.5, like I covered with the Adamantine Golem, but besides the fact that that translates differently to 5th edition with resistances and whatnot, it's completely redundant considering it also possesses a built-in anti-magic field centered on itself within a 100-foot radius around it. And no, this would not stop the Colossus from working. Jeremy Crawford confirmed that anti-magic fields would stop a creature whose existence is dependent on magic that is currently working, like summoned elementals, being a concentration spell with the duration, but undead and construct created by a spell with the duration of instantaneous are fine in anti-magic fields. The Iron Colossus also has a poison breath weapon like the Iron Golem, but the Vonindod was never listed to have that. But quickly back to my anti-magic field thing. So magic would not work in it. In an anti-magic field, elementals that are summoned using Conjure Elemental that has concentration on it and it lasts for a duration, they will disappear as listed in the spell. But undead and constructs created by magic, but that magic has already been cast and they're alive for as long as they're alive, that they can move in and out of an anti-magic field just fine. So Colossus works within its own anti-magic field. Alright, that is everything I have about the Vonindod, and a little bit of insight into how strong it would actually be. CR 45, an epic level creature with an anti-magic field, adamantine properties, slow movement, a sword and horns for weapons, and the ability to trample anything in its way. Truly the strongest weapon of the giants. Well, opposed to rock, of course. Anyways, I want to thank you all so much for watching. If you like this video, please leave it a like and consider subscribing for more videos like this. And if you have any lore you think I should check out, let me know in the comments down below. Thanks again for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Bye!